Let's go to the Kingdom of Fife in my own country of Scotland, where Brian is on the line. Brian, what would you like to say?
Congratulations on becoming George Galloway MP.
Thank you.
In episode 35 in 2020, when Facebook was worth 200 billion, and I informed you that social media was invented in a UK science lab by a Scotsman, and you pointed out that it should have been called Mac Facebook.
You were that Scotsman, I infer.
Yes. You're now under protection as an MP from an IT system that I helped to design, and it's a social media search engine that looks at the 500 million tweets per day and pulls out 2 million of those to look at those to see if there are any credible threats to MPs, the royal family, and celebrities.
Well, that's no good, is it? Because firstly, to start with, it didn't seem to think that the threat that Matt Hancock put against Andrew Bridgen was much of a threat at all. So, you know, if it wasn't a threat, why did Bridgen want to go take Matt Hancock to court? If it wasn't worthy of being pulled up on, software threat, it can't have been that much of defamation or intimidating or threatening or anything, really, other than the fact that I don't even think that Matt Hancock and Andrew Bridgen can fight things out in the High Court anyway, because they're both meant to be under protection from each other anyway, and Bridgen should have taken it to the Privileges Committee to start with. Put it this way, if MPs are supposed to have a certain amount of immunity for their work, immunity for the working commons, which effectively is meant to be the exact same immunity that we've got if we engage in casework and bring it, which they're not fully granting us at the moment. It's supposed to be the Privileges Committee that deals with all legal consequences and actions of MPs. Now, you might say, well, it was a private claim. Well, it's still a legal matter. And the thing is, if Bridgen, well, I don't really actually, to be honest, I only followed it for a while, and then I don't really know what happened, because Bridgen, 1 minute Bridgen was, I don't know what happened to that case. I know that he raised a lot of money for it, and then I never heard anything. It went quiet after that, and I didn't see any programmes about it on Reclaim the Media, and then he even fell out with Lawrence Fox, and he left the Reclaim Party, which was all in the hush-hush as well. But what I want to know is this. If Matt Hancock MP is supposed to be under parliamentary privilege, right, then, but they both ended up 2 MPs in the High Court, that means that we can take MPs to the High Court for their conduct as MPs, which is what I'm wanting to do, the Petitions Committee at the moment, not through the Privileges Committee. Don't want to do it through the Privileges Committee. I want to do it through the Judicial Conduct Investigations Office, because there are some judicial functions of Parliament. You can petition about legal cases. Petitions committees have chairs and they have powers, which are equivalent to like Inquiries Act powers and tribunal powers. And, you know, I'm seriously thinking I want Rees-Mogg to be prosecuted for presenting GB News under the legislation for, well, there are several acts, and one of the acts doesn't require it doesn't matter who you are. And Ofcom are only a body that is independent from government but public funded, which is they're meant to deal with everything for us instead of the Crown Prosecution Service. And if they find any issues, they can bring proceedings and pursue legal actions, but that's on our behalf. But the thing is, why do that if they've got the Privileges Committee? You know, why would we have to go to Ofcom for something Jacob Rees-Mogg's doing, when there's a privileges committee. So we know complaints have been made against MOG through Ofcom because Professor Tim Wilson's been talking about it on multiple programmes, and they were looking into it. And then there was a select committee in Parliament. So it went back to Parliament then with this select committee. But Ofcom can actually do things. But then there's a privileges committee, which is surely separate to the select committee. But I found out that the Lady Chief Justice who runs the Judicial Conduct Investigation Office, she's the head of that office. Now, judicial investigations used to be in Parliament in the Painted Chamber in the 1640s, leading up before the Civil War, when they were getting evidence against judges, right? So the Judicial Conduct Office had a committee to fulfill the same function at some point. Now it is an office in the High Court, but run by the Lord Chief Justice. Now, the thing is, right, if there's two ways to do something, then there must be more. There could be three ways, and there is three ways. The Judicial Conduct Investigation Office is under the jurisdiction of the Lord Chief Justice directing it, and we've got the Constitutional Reform Act, and that's all about the Constitution, which includes functions of Parliament and MPs. And in Section 5 of the Act, that's one of the acts that came out of Gordon Brown government, it says that you've got representations with the House of Commons from the... it's from the judge of judges, the top judge, the head of all judges, right? Because that's the who is in charge of the judicial investigations. But they've got representation with the House of Commons. Why would you need powers to have representation with the House of Commons if you don't have some jurisdiction over it, if you're the Lord Chief Justice? All kinds of functions. And since Tice confirmed that they can deal with the postal workers' offences and charges, which they're doing now, I think there's meant to be that's supposed to be being broadcast soon, actually, to do with the postal workers' charges. MPs can vote in Parliament on motions to do with things like that. Now, the thing is, if a minister is breaking the law, right? If a minister is breaking the law, then the thing is, in what capacity are they breaking the law? Are they breaking the law as a citizen walking around, or are they breaking a law of something to do with what they're doing in Parliament? And the thing is, yes, they've got the Privileges Committee, but then they've got Select Committee. They've got 101 Dalmatian committees, right? But the Judicial Conduct Investigations Office, even though it is, in the Royal Courts of Justice, traditionally is a committee because it's supposed to be in Parliament, or they've had it in Parliament before. Now, this is the thing. The House of Lords is meant to be a judicial authority, what you used to be able to appeal to by prayer and petition, right? But they've put that into the Supreme Court now. But the Supreme Court deals with all these matters. But if the Supreme Court's not in Parliament, but it's got three Lords in it, but it deals with matters instead of the Lords, then surely, if you've got a Judicial Conduct Investigations Office in the High Court, in the Royal Courts of Justice, that's got representations to the House of Commons, then it should have some sort of intervention capacity. Well, it has, because I'm using it now. The thing is, Mogg is not a judge, and he's not in the cabinet, but he still is a member of Parliament. Some of those MPs are in committees and are chairs of committees that have powers. Parliament has got powers. The thing with Parliament is it has powers, and even an MP themselves has got certain powers. And the thing is, when we say the word pervert the course of justice, in law, there is a perversion of a course of justice, but everyone thinks that's just criminal, right? It's not criminal. Justice means the due process of law, or the lawful due process has been perverted. So that could be parliamentary process. Now, I know they've got the Privileges Committee, but if MOG is conduct can be in front of these select committees and the matters of the select committee because of MOG in there, that's a different committee to the Privileges Committee. The select committee dealing with Ofcom is not the Privileges Committee, is it? So how can they both be dealing with the same facts and circumstances? They are. So that the Judicial Conduct Investigation Office is actually, I don't think that office is that different really from that Painted Chamber Committee, what had Essex, Bedford, Say and Seal and Brooke and on it, because it's similar purpose and functions. You know, I think that an MP, a member of Parliament, if they are doing something illegal, breaking the law, unlawful, I think that it could, because why is there representations with the House of Commons? Why would you need that? Why would Gordon Brown create it? There's no point in having it, is there? You can make representations from Lord Chief Justice and the Judicial Conduct Office to the House of Commons. Over what? What representations would you want to make? Well, if it's anything to do with justice, then it must, this is the thing. I want to complain about MOG because certain legislation, YouTube is international, and it's actually officially been emitted, broadcast from San Bruno in America. So it's global. And Rees-Mogg is on a channel on a YouTube. They do that program goes out through other avenues, but the YouTube is international. And it says that you cannot influence people in elections or voting. Well, Rees-Mogg, George Galloway just said the other day, he actually said that Rees-Mogg had praised him. Right? Now, if you're going to praise someone leading up to an election, then surely that means you're advocating them or supporting them or even encouraging people to like or vote for them. It's not just blatantly telling people to vote one way or the other in elections or referendums. It's actually anything that could give an advantage to people in voting or elections or put their opponents at a disadvantage. That is why I don't think they're meant to be on there. And it doesn't just say, it says anyone. So we're all not really supposed to be doing it, but it's very, very, very hard to kind of police it. But there's a thing that if you're doing a petition to the government, you may be able to say things like that because you've got immunity or not be liable to prosecution for it. But the thing with Mogg is he's setting an example that it's okay to do that, whereas other people, are supposed to not know any better. So I think that it is illegal what Mogg's doing. I think Mogg's presence is illegal because you're not meant to have people presenting programs. And there was all this argument about, what type of program is it? All that general guidance is very, very loose guidance that just supposes that certain programs are going to be covering this or that. It's not absolute. And in the law, it says any person and broadcasting anything that is likely to affect voting or elections. It doesn't matter whether there's an election on at the moment or not. And the thing with Mogg is he's actually, by being a presenter on there permanently, It's actually, he's forming a character and connection, and he's becoming a celebrity. Now, when I was growing up watching TV, MPs, they weren't celebrities. You knew them and recognised them for, oh, this is the Prime Minister, or this is an MP, and they come in and answer questions. Oh, that's a man from the government. But if you're a man from the government, you're just, oh, that's a man from the government. It's just like, if the gas man comes around, oh, that's the gas man, or this is a doctor, or this is a policeman. That they're not what we call celebrities. Now, the thing with celebrities is that people put posters of them on the walls or adore them, or kind of like pop stars. They're not just someone doing a job. They're meant to be there for, well, it's called popularity. It's pop music. Pop music is different to any other music because pop music is popular. If it's not popular, you're not going to hear it. Now, there's lots of people selling music, like blues music, like grunge, metal, opera, folk music. There are lots of different genres. Simon Mayo should be interested in this. Simon Mayo should, and Mark Radcliffe should be interested in this, right? In this, what I'm saying now, the ideology, right? These radio presenters like wide varieties of music, and they know there's not a lot of music that doesn't get heard or played. They have as many people on as they can, but that is not popular music, and it's not in the charts. It only gets in the charts if they play it all the time and it becomes popular. You could say that they popularise it, but someone has to put it forward, like Simon Cowell or someone, or else you're just music. Now, this is the thing, right? So what's happening is, yes, it gets into the charts, but people have to go out and buy it to get in the charts, vote for it, and then it's popular. And then once it's in the charts, it gets more and more popular, and then it is a pop classic that's popular. So it's getting popularised. Now, the thing is, in voting in elections, it's illegal to popularise them, because for a programme to popularise them, right? It's illegal for a programme to popularise them, because then they're meant to be all equal and do their own independent campaigns, right? Now, who's the pot picker? Mog now is effectively like Simon Mayo in politics. But the thing is, he's like a pot picker, but he's still an MP who's been, he's elected. And he's always got the option to go for re-election. We don't know, he can make his mind up. But what the law says is that if it could potentially affect his election next time or giving him an advantage, he can't do it. But he's popularising himself all the time. He is effectively a Mickey Mouse. He has become celebrity. Now, they knew this, and they knew all about this strategy. So what they did is they come out with these programs, and they put their contacts out there through the television stations and their government contacts, and they I'm a celebrity, get me out of here. It's meant to draw from it. I'm a celebrity, get me out of here is meant to kind of like basically it's almost like a fireman putting the fire out on the whole thing. What they want to do is really say, oh, we're all popular now, we're all celebrities, and we're all going to be filmed all the time. Or everyone would be getting along with their lives and their own business, and they wouldn't be interested in making YouTube channels or even, like I'm talking now, because I would have a life. But because of what these MPs are doing, because of the planning applications the councils are putting through in destroying all areas and not ceasing with it, and all the things they're doing to law and rights, forcing these cameras on us, changing everything. People don't like it, so we're being forced to speak out. Then people are protesting. Then they say, well, we'll have more police, and then we're under more surveillance. They're actually forcing us into this future which no one's asked for or voted for, and then they're the ones who have bought all the tech companies that are doing it, like this guy who was on George Galloway, who invented that, program. If you didn't have any MPs, because we don't really need anyone to represent us in Parliament anymore anyway, because we can all vote on individual matters. All you need is a secretary or a spokesperson to read out the answers, and they're not responsible. They didn't tell anyone to vote either way. So you won't need all this protection. You won't need military and all these programmes to see what you type in, to see if anyone's planning anything to attack MPs or whatever, or all this, because there would be no one to attack. Or there would be no one to have a grievance with if the people are only responsible for what they vote on, and if everyone on TV was, somewhat. But this is the MPs. I think the MPs really know that it's going to have to come to an end. So instead, they're shifting over to become celebrities instead. So if it does all go just to completely computer voting, then at least they can be demagogues and they can be influencers. And I think that's what Rees-Mogg has become now, a demagogue, an influencer. And he'll say that he's not, but that's what criminals always say. He needs to get off. Mogg must come off. And I'm going to find a way to get him off. Now, I think I think George Galloway should be in Parliament. George Galloway should be in government at the moment. I'm glad he's got in to challenge the Tories and Labour. But his programme as well, all these programmes they're affecting the outcome of elections and voting. There's no doubt about it. And, they're not just their own sponsored campaign anymore. But Moggs is worse because GB News is, well, to put it this way, I think Mogg definitely is increasing his own popularity, and that is an advantage in election. There's no doubt about it. I mean, that's probably what's happened to George Galloway now when he's got elected because of his popularity on his channel. Compared to, what about those independents? No one really knows who those independents are. So in a way, Galloway, that's why Mogg spoke out that he was praising Galloway, because he knows that they're both really kind of breaking the law in a way, because they have an advantage through their celebritism, and that really is unfair to those independents. I mean, one of the independents even beat Labour with all Starmer's YouTube adverts, all the finances and so forth. So that independent candidate did really well, but no one really knows much about them or what they're going to do, probably because of the fact that they're not well known. So no one thinks that, at least the contradiction is that because we know who Galloway is and he's popular, and he's that we know that he's going to do something against the Tory and Labour, but there's no real knowledge that independents, if they're not very well known, may or may not be able to achieve anything. So you see, there are a lot of MPs who are low key but have been there for a long time, or you know them if you're more into politics. But there are some who, just like Barry Sheeman, he keeps out of the newspaper, he appears on television and so forth now and again. There's never anything close to Boris Johnson scandals or anything like that. But he he clearly has had a long affecting influence on the country, and that's why we've had all this mysterious money being poured into the area, which has ruined it, But he's doing things, but not through celebrityism. He didn't get elected by going on TV and broadcasting. I think his name probably helped, and the fact that he's in the Labour Party. But this is the thing. What have these people been doing? Well, I know that he's been severely overdeveloped. He's been encouraging overdevelopment of our area, and he will say that he's brought it out of poverty, but it never was in poverty. It's never seen poverty. It's like, demolishing Stratford-upon-Avon and building Tokyo City on it, and that's progress, but it's not progress. I'd like to see what everyone said, like that sycamore tree got cut down, unfortunately, on Hadrian's Wall. What happens if someone flattened Shakespeare's house tomorrow? The entire London theatrics would be up in revolution. The whole theatre would be up in arms. This is it. If something happened there, then all the American, actors would be, complaining. This is the thing. So, but as for that guy's computer program, it must be pretty rubbish, because it didn't pick up on Andrew Bridgen and Matt Hancock. So, all that tech. Because a couple of pimpernels think they're more important than everyone else, so they need the higher security. When there's all these newspaper reporters following the royals around, all this Harry phone hacking scandal, that guy's computer program didn't stop Piers Morgan from hacking Harry's phone, so it can't have been that good. So how about that? So much for whoever's going to be sat in government and monitoring all this. That's why I think that they want the royals in the newspapers. They want them to be followed around by newspaper reporters and photographers. It's all part of the propaganda and image. And then you get, Harry claiming, oh, Piers Morgan's been hacking my phone. Well, what about this computer program they've got, That is evidence that this is all complete and total propaganda from the government, and they intend it to be that way. So I blame the government themselves. They're their own spin doctors.